Hey, good day, folks. Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Life. I know you're not gonna believe the video that I'm getting ready to make. Given how difficult times are here in the United States when it comes to the economy, at least in many parts of the United States, and given my personal situation, I'm trying to do everything in my power to not have to move back up to Indiana. Not that moving back up to Indiana is necessarily a bad thing. It's just that cost-wise and time-wise and energy-wise, at this point, I prefer to stay in Alabama. But anyway, I had a job interview today. Now, for starters, this job interview came about because what happened was yesterday when I was filling out applications and submitting resumes online for other positions that were up my alley in terms of the type of work that I desired to do. This position, I got this email from a recruiter for a sorter position. It was a material sorter position. I didn't know what the heck that was, so I looked at the email and I did a little bit of research on the company. And since the email had this recruiter's phone number, I went on ahead and I gave the recruiter a call. Me and the recruiter spoke, and the recruiter told me that the recruiter explained briefly what the position was about. So I'm thinking, okay, it sounds good. It doesn't sound like anything too hard. Now, this position has nothing to do with janitorial or maintenance. This was more of a factory job, which I try to stay away from for reasons that you're about to find out later in the video. So I'm thinking, okay, if all I'm doing is sorting materials, that shouldn't be too bad. So after I get off the phone with her, anyhow, we're on the phone and we scheduled to meet each other for an interview today. So I had an interview this morning with these people. And, everything, the interviewers, there were two interviewers. Both of them were very nice. They're very respectful. And they've asked me a few questions. Now, the questions that they've asked me were nothing ridiculous. They were actually reasonable questions. And the interview went for maybe 15 minutes. The interview was not too bad. So I got to thinking, so once they began to elaborate more on what the position is going to be, and basically it was a position to where parts are going to come out of a machine. The parts are going to be on a piece of sheet metal, and it would be my job to, I guess, punch the parts off the sheet of metal and sort them, put them in order. Because basically this job would have required me to work on an assembly line, basically. A super long assembly line. So I've asked her, well, is this a fast-paced job? And the woman looked at me kind of confused. Like, what do you mean is this a fast-paced job? And I say, I appreciate you guys bringing me in for an interview. However, I want to be as honest as possible when it comes to my work habits. And I told her point blank, I am not a fast worker. I've never been a fast worker because it's the truth. I've never been a fast worker. Even when I was young, I've never been a fast worker. And then she was asking me questions about previous jobs I've had and why I work those type of jobs. And I explained to her that, the type of jobs I've had recently in the past were jobs that lined up with my with my work habits. So, making a long story short, we both agreed that that position would not fit my work habits, I guess you can say. Because she told me, well, it's not a fast-paced position, and then she asked me, well, what speed do you think you work at? And I told her point blank, I'm not fast. If you want to, I would say I work anywhere from mid-speed to slower speed. It's not because I'm lazy and I don't want to work fast. It's just because I've never been a fast worker. So, making a long story short, I decided to not accept the offer because they were ready to extend the offer to me, but I wanted to be honest. Now, some of you are probably thinking, well, if I want to stay here in Alabama, given how the job market is, why in the world will I blow my chances of having that job by being honest? Well, for those of you that are asking that question in your head, I'm glad you asked. And I'm glad to provide you an answer. Here's the answer. And this is one thing I've learned over the years. And now for starters, I understand times are hard out here for many people. Many of you guys are looking for work. You're desperate for work. Your money is dwindling down to the point of having no money at all. I get it. I also understand that sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do because you're in a situation to where you're desperate. However, I learned, the older I get, the more I realize that there is certain things that you should never lie about or exaggerate about when it comes to a job interview. Now, a lot of people, when they submit their applications or their resumes, they might tell some white lies. A lot of people, when it comes to the interview, you might tell some white lies. But there are there's certain pieces of information that you should be 100% honest with. Not only will that honesty be good for the company, obviously, because you're not going to be wasting their time, but more so that honesty is going to do you good. That way you're not going to waste your time. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm going to give you guys an example. When I told the interviewers today that I was not a fast-paced worker, that I was a slower-paced worker, I explained to them that, I don't want to lie to you guys about my work habits. I want to be truthful. That way, I don't waste your time and I don't waste my time. Because my attitude is, if I accept this job, if they extend me the job offer based on what I told them, based on what they believe I am, in terms of my work, and I accept the offer, most likely what would have happened is I would have been in. Maybe the first day or two would have been okay because people may have been easy on me because I'm new. But then after the first or second day, people would have got on my ass about not picking up my speed. And I would have tried to pick up my speed, but even trying my best still wouldn't have been good enough for a lot of those people. And then the work environment for me would have became what a lot of people would consider to be a toxic work environment. It would have got to the point, I would say within a couple of weeks, if I would have accepted that job, it would have most likely got to the point where I was bumping heads with my coworkers, I was bumping heads with my supervisor, and it just would have been it would have been a very bad situation for me. And at that point, it would have been my fault because I accepted a job that I knew I wasn't going to be good at. So at that point, if that would have happened, it would have been my fault. So my attitude is, it's better to be honest about stuff like that and just keep it pushing and leave myself open for other opportunities that will fit my work habits. Now, in my case, as much as I do not want to have to leave my home and move back up to Indiana and start over, as much as I would like to stay put for many reasons, my attitude is I gotta live my truth. I gotta live my truth. You see, me living my truth is part of me living my best and happiest life. Because to me, happiness is next to good health. I mean, yeah, I need to lose some weight, and I'm working on that. But also, I can't be running around here always miserable, always pissed off. I need to put myself in a space to where at least most of the time I'm happy. I like the work I do and everything like that. So, for reasons like that, uh, whenever I have a job interview, I'm going to be as truthful as possible. I'm not going to exaggerate my skills. I'm not going to exaggerate or lie about my credentials. I'm not going to exaggerate or lie about my work habits. I'm going to be as honest as I can. And my attitude is, okay, if they still want to hire me and I accept the offer, okay, cool. They know who I am and I might know who they are. But if they extend me an offer based on some lies I may have told or based on some exaggerations, and I accept the offer, and then 2 weeks into the game or whatever, things don't work out for me, and I get to feeling some kind of way for whatever reason, at that point, it's my fault for not being honest, for not being truthful. Because having I been truthful, they would have been truthful back, and then we would have had a mutual agreement, kind of like what happened to me today, that, you know what, this position may not be for me. I'll be better off if I just keep it moving. So for those of you that are out here looking for work, I know this piece of advice is easier said than done, but take my word. If you know you're a slow worker, it's not going to be a good idea to accept a position that's faster paced. I don't care what the pay is. I don't care how bad you might want to live somewhere. You'll be better off moving around if you have to. You'll be better off taking a lower paying position and just living your truth. Because if you don't live your truth, in the long run, you're going to mess your health up because you're going to always be under stress. You're going to always be mad because you're going to dislike the work you do. You're only doing it for the money. And that's one thing that I absolutely refuse to do. I refuse to work a job just for the money. I'm not doing that no more. In my case, I'd rather take a lower paying job and be happy with the work I do. Even if it means selling this house and going back up to Indiana, I'd rather do that if necessary than to stay down here and work jobs that don't align with who I am, that don't align with my work habits. And another thing is, during a job interview, you know what skills you have or what skills you don't have. It's not going to do you no good to lie about any of that stuff. Because again, if you lie about any of that stuff, at some point you will be put to the test. Your supervisor or one of your coworkers might ask you to perform a duty, might ask you to perform a task, And if you A, you can't do it, or B, you're showing any level of incompetency, you know, at some point they're gonna know that maybe during the interview process you done told some lies, or B, if they feel that you're not competent enough to do the job, they're gonna let you go, and then you're gonna be back to square one. No job, now you're back looking for a job. And depending on what line of work you do, you might, some of these jobs might require you to purchase a uniform, and they'll take that money out of your check. And once they issue you the uniform, if you wear that uniform one time, you cannot give that uniform back. So if you take a job at a factory, let's say, that requires you to work fast, and you know you're not a fast worker, but you lie and say you can work fast, knowing good and well you're not going to work fast, but you lie and you accept the position, you're going to have to purchase some uniforms. And maybe the cost of the uniforms might come out to be, let's say, $100. Well, you're going to spend $100 on a uniform, on some uniforms. And the job may only last you for a week, maybe 2 weeks, because you don't like the job, or they decide that they don't like you because you're not good at the job. So either A, you'll quit the job, B, they'll let you go. And if that happens, you done blew $100 for nothing. Or in some cases, you might accept a job offer that might require you to move somewhere. So you go through the spill of moving, and then when you get to that location, you might last a week or two at that job, and then they're going to get rid of you, or you're going to quit because during the interview process you weren't truthful to yourself and you weren't truthful to the employer. So yesterday I made a couple of videos getting up in the, holding employers accountable for all the bullshit they do to applicants. So I guess this video is going to be holding applicants accountable for some of the things that some of us applicants might do that will hurt us. Just like I don't believe in these companies wasting applicants' time, I don't believe in applicants wasting the time of these companies. And when you think about it, if you're honest during the interview process about everything about yourself, I mean, not only do you save the company's time and you don't waste none of their time, but you also save your own time and you don't waste none of your time, and you open yourself up to get a job that might fit who you are. It might align better with your work habits. So hopefully I make sense here. Hopefully you guys got something out of the video. And yes, I'm still looking for work here in Alabama. And yes, the job in Indiana is still on the table. And as much as I would like to stay here in Alabama, I am also prepared to put this house up on the market and sell it and go back up to Indiana. So right now it's kind of all up in the air. But my attitude is I'm gonna keep it 100 with myself. I'm gonna live in my truth, because doing that will allow me to live my best and happiest life. Because happiness is next to good health. Hopefully, so for those of you guys that are looking for work, I wish everybody the best of luck. And just remember, if you get called in, if you see that job that's high pay, and you know you don't fit the qualifications of that position, or your personality or your work habits don't fit what that position may require, your best bet is to keep it moving. Don't waste your time submitting that application or resume and then lying. Your best bet is to live for your truth and keep it moving. Or if you get called in for an interview, again, your best bet is to be honest, be truthful. And if you don't get the job, oh well, keep it moving. So on that note, if you like what I do, give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel. And also, I would like to take this moment to thank everyone that has been watching my videos recently and has also been interacting in the comment section. I would like to welcome all of you new subscribers to the channel to Andrew's Life. And on that note, stay blessed. And remember, live your truth.